The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. This is Vinish from WSI ALM, and I'm joined with Armando Alas. We are here with another edition of the Launchpad series. Armando?
Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's having a great week so far. Looking forward to spending the next 40 minutes with you and going through our Launchpad webinar.
Excellent. Great. So without further ado, let's get started here. So the order of business, as usual, we fill you in on all the latest news and events that are making news headlines in the digital marketing industry, and then we start off with a case study. Armando's got another exciting case study that's lined up for this week, and then we move on to our tool of the week review section. Got a pretty cool tool. It's a free tool. And it basically talks about browser compatibility, so you can basically check your websites. A lot of ICs come to us, and at times they have questions like, "Look, the site looks like this in this particular browser, or that particular browser." And this is a very handy tool, so that you can actually replicate how a site looks like in different browsers. So we'd be showcasing that in our tool of the week, and we'll finish off with any questions that we have. All right, so let's just dive into our first news item for the week. So very interesting comment by John Mueller. John Mueller's Google's Webmaster Tools, one of the Webmaster Tools team leads that essentially works with Google. And John's been making a lot of good constructive comments, a lot of good feedback of late. And that was a very interesting comment that he made. A lot of the times when the sites are penalized, and a lot of companies have been trying to follow this in the past, is that they basically replicate the domain info on another domain, and then they launch a new domain if they feel that the penalty is very severe and they cannot really fix the penalty as far as their main domain is concerned. They just basically take all the information and then they just set up a new website and they launch it, and they start doing all the SEO on that website. So the SEO community thought that was a pretty sort of a foolproof tactic, and that Google would not be able to associate the new site with the old website, and then this way when you launch the new site with similar content, but of course without the bad links or whatever that was causing the penalty, or any sort of spammy tactics on the website, then you wouldn't necessarily be caught by Google, and then you just start off on a clean slate. And that's a way to go about, launching a brand afresh if you've suffered from a penalty. Hey, but guess what? So John Mueller came out with a comment saying that that's not always correct, because even if you don't do any links or any 301s or any point any old links to the new site, Google can still identify your domain on the new website. So he says that there's ways and means that we can track and identify that this site was penalized in the past, and all you've done is you've simply taken the information and you've replicated the information on a new website. They can still find you. So what he suggests is that the best thing to do is that if your site's been really badly penalized because of spammy tactics or bad links or anything that's really caused your website to lose traffic and rankings and get penalized by Google quite aggressively, then the best thing to do is, yes, launch a new domain, launch a fresh strategy, but the idea is that you have content that's different. So have information on your site that's actually different from the older site. Don't just copy-paste content, all the information, all the material that was there on the previous site. Try and be different. And that's really what he basically says in this particular comment. So this tactic's very commonly used by some of the SEO companies, where all they simply do is they just take the information when one site's been penalized and they can't fix that penalty, and then just duplicate that on the new website, but Google can still find you. So that was the first news item that we thought we'd bring to your attention. The second thing that's causing a lot of buzz in the industry right now is Google that's going to be launching a new search results design. So Google's been experimenting. I mean, I'm not sure if some of you have noticed, but Google's been experimenting a lot with regards to the interface for their first page results as they get displayed to visitors when they come onto Google and they just search for anything using their search bar. So they've been playing around with things like font size. They've been playing around with things like reducing the number of hyperlinks that they display on the home page. showcasing more images, showcasing more videos. They've been doing a lot of tests, and a couple of the tests have been very frequent when it comes to their new interface layout. One is to increase the font size, so as to make it easy for the viewers when they're looking at the search results and take a look at them, and then removing some of the underlines for the hyperlinked content. There's too many underlines over there in the past, so they're trying to remove that as well. And here's a quick example of what the old interface would look like and what potentially the new interface is looking like, and Google's supposed to be finalizing this and rolling it out across the board. So if you look at these two screenshots that we've attached in this slide, you'll notice that the search, once the search is conducted, every single main link essentially is hyperlinked. There's an underline under it, right? So news, that's underlined. Facebook cuts into Google's lead as the top driver to online news sites, that's underlined. 7 things BuzzFeed can teach brands about how to be social, that's underlined. Now take a look at the new mock-up on the right-hand side. And if you look at the new screenshot, you'll see that all these areas that I just identified, all these headlines are not underlined, so as to give you a better sort of a visual experience when you're reading the information. The other thing is that you'll notice that in the design on the left-hand side, there's a lot more information. That's because the font size is smaller. So you can actually see 4 listings. You see the Marketing Land listing. You see Marketing Land again. So there's 4 listings of Marketing Land. But on the right-hand side, you only see 3 listings of Marketing Land. So you don't have that last article there, Marketing Biz, past tools, Facebook highlight, and Google Now, etc., etc. So you don't have that on the right-hand side. Again, what does this tell you? It's so important to be in the top 3 of the top 4 searches in Google. I mean, that's really where all the action is. All the user case studies also talk about the fact that the first 3 organic listings in Google get the highest amount of click-throughs, as high as 10%, and then the 9th to the 10th position goes down to as low as like 1 or 2%. So with this new design, it's even more so important to be in the top 3 organic listings in Google, so as to capture more of the above the fold space and impact your click-through rate. All right, so Google came out with a really friendly tool. Well, not essentially a tool, but it's more like sort of like a reporting procedure. So there's a lot of the times you'll see that sites basically are copying content outright. So you have genuine content, you have unique content on your website, and sites are just blatantly copying that content. They'll just take your content. Maybe they'll do a couple of changes here or there, but a lot of the times they don't even do the changes, and they'll just grab your content, dump it on their own, do better SEO than you. So, they have a lot of inbound links to that particular article that they copied. They'll change up the title a little bit so as to make it more keyword rich and more optimized, much better optimized than your particular content. And the worst thing is that you'll see them ranking higher than you in the rankings. So that's a cause of frustration for a lot of business owners, for a lot of clients that have actually spent the time and effort and money so as to come up with their own content, only for a scraper site or some site or their competitors to take the content from their site, replicate it, dump it in, and make it their own, and put it out there, and then optimize it better so that it actually ranks better than your own content. So Google is getting obviously a lot of complaints like this. So they've come up with this official reporting format. So here's the link to the report. It's actually included in this document as well, in the slide. And then this is the actual form that Google's wanting you to report scrape content. So the first thing is, what's the URL on your site where the content was taken from? So report the URL wherever your content was taken from for the scraper site. What is the exact URL on the scraper site? So where is your content appearing? You'll put that information over here. What's the Google search result URL that demonstrates a problem? So type in that specific search, the keyword, and that's showing that the scraper site content's ranking higher than yours, and then you basically copy paste that information right here on the information box, and then confirm that your site is following our webmaster guidelines and is not affected by any sort of a manual action. Again, if your site's been penalized for any sort of bad practices that were being followed on the website, whether it is keyword spamming, link building, etc., then the scraper site might be ranking higher than yours, and that's what Google wants you to confirm, that you're not suffering from any manual actions. There's nothing in Webmaster Tools that you can check, and then you can, once you confirm that, you can submit this form, and then Google hasn't really given any sort of timelines on how much time it takes for them to review this information once you submit it, and whether they take any action or not. But at least they've given us an interface where we can actually report scrape content and sites that are just blatantly copying our content, doing better SEO, and then just ranking higher than us. So at least they can take action in that particular fashion. So this is a really cool tool. So if you have any clients, any prospects that are complaining about competitors that have stolen their content and are potentially ranking higher, then this is the official medium to communicate with Google and report your own site as well as the scraper sites. All right, moving on. So the Google AdWords has made an interesting update in the way that they display ads. So here's a typical ad that's getting displayed. It's an ad for Best Buy, and you can see that you have the title URL at the top, which is Samsung laptops bestbuy.com, followed by the URL, the display URL, and then there's a rating that's getting displayed as well. The rating's being pulled from an internal search. And then this is the actual text that the Best Buy AdWords team, whoever's managing the AdWords campaign, has written out, which is free shipping on Samsung laptops at Best Buy, shop online today. So that's the actual ad that was written by the team that's managing the PPC campaign. However, this next line, which is laptop features, touchscreen, backlit keyboard, built-in webcam, is actually getting pulled from the internal pages on the website itself. So Google essentially, these are called smart annotations, so as to make your ad more relevant. And the way that the smart annotations are being added on in your ad in Google is that Google's actively looking at your landing pages. So wherever this particular ad is pointing to, whichever landing page it's pointing to, Google's actually looking at that quite actively, and then it's taking the information intelligently from your landing page. It's deriving the information and adding these this extra line of text, which is called like a smart annotation, and trying to make your ad more relevant. In this case, Best Buy's Google Plus followers are also being mentioned over here. Plus, they're using something called ad extensions. So they have a location extension where they are highlighting the closest location to where this ad's getting served, which is in South Portland, and the telephone number. And then they also have site link extensions that they're utilizing, the laptop buying guide, the college student deals, and the free in-store pickup. These are all examples of site link extensions where you can actually click on any of these links and they'll take you to their respective pages. So very well crafted ad by the team. And then the interesting part is these smart annotations, an extra line of text that's coming in for the ads. And now what you might understand and notice is that it's very clever on Google's part in order to do this, because it's not just increasing the click-through rate by adding this whole term that they've coined as smart annotations. It's also going to be increasing their revenue. Why is that? Because they've added an extra line of text in the ads. What that does is that it's now increasing the real estate that the PPC ads are getting. And what's more real estate in PPC ads going to do? It's going to impact the click-through rate. People are going to click more. The ad prominence is better on the page, so people are more inclined to look at the ad, look at the text ad, and then click on it. So it's obviously more revenue for Google. So it's a pretty smart way to obviously, one, make sure that the PPC ad click-through rate goes up, and two, at the same time, I mean, it is a pretty relevant sort of a change, because it's also it's got a couple of benefits. One is that it's benefiting the advertiser, because whoever's doing a good job with their landing page and has proper annotations in there, Google's actually going to pick that up properly and display that so as to increase your ad's relevancy, and users are going to find that beneficial. So from that perspective, it's really user-friendly. And the second way that it's beneficial is that it's also going to increase your own click-through rate. So if you're doing PPC advertising, you want to have a better click-through rate, here's an extra line of text that Google's giving you that's being pulled from your landing page for relevancy. So from an advertiser standpoint, it's really cool. if you're doing PPC advertising. But again, there is a whole underlying revenue reason as well, because this is going to lead to an increased click-through rate for Google. So the official version is that the added line is coming in from data that we find on the landing page. It comes from navigation categories that are typically on the left-hand side of your page, but it could be elsewhere, like along the top as well. They're looking for relevancy, and then they typically take them in the order of the landing page, respecting any trademark claims that we have on file. They'd also be giving you reporting for the smart annotation ads after 1 month of launching. So after about a month, they'd start reporting data on smart annotations and how they're working out for you for your respective campaigns. They also have an opt-out procedure. So if, let's say, for whatever reason, let's say our landing page is not displaying the smart annotations very accurately in your ad, you can opt out as well. So there's like a feature in the backend of AdWords where you can essentially opt out of this particular feature. And in that case, the crawler is not going to be displaying the extra line of text in your PPC ads if you choose to opt out. So an interesting change by Google. So it's that time of the year again. It is tax season. I'm sure everybody's scrambling to file their taxes, but if you're more organized and you've perhaps already done it, most of us are not, so I'm sure everybody's scrambling on to file their tax information. Bing's again taken the lead on this in terms of giving better information, more reliable information, and more accurate information when it comes to tax-related searches before the 15th of April. Bing made an official announcement in that regard. So if you type in things like IRS forms, then it's actually going to be pulling out, pop-ups like the one that you're seeing in our screenshot here in the slide. Download the latest IRS forms, the W4, W9, or the 1040. And then you can just click on it and you can download the respective forms. Again, Bing's doing this because they understand that there's the amount of tax-related searches definitely go high prior to the 15th of April. So right from March to the beginning of March to the 15th of April, tax-related searches skyrocket for obvious reasons. Bing wants to take advantage of this, and they've come up with this feature where they'll be giving you a lot more accurate results. Okay, again, according to the official version from Bing, Bing's now showing you smarter results when you're searching for things like tax forms, IRS forms, etc. They'll show you the most searched for forms as you type your query, show you where to mail your taxes, where to e-file, and links to download the necessary forms that you search for. Again, making your user experience, especially when you're searching for tax-related information, a lot better. I think it's a great move from Bing. They are trying to get as much as they can as far as the search share is concerned. We did make a mention of the quality of searches that are on Bing. We're running a campaign right now for one of our clients. It's a pretty extensive and a pretty aggressive PPC campaign for an e-commerce client that we have. And we're running Google and we're running Bing at the same time. And in terms of preliminary results, like for the first 45 days that we've been running the campaign, we're seeing that Bing's cost per conversion is 10 times lower than that of Google. So for example, if it's costing us $60 a conversion in Google, Bing is costing us $6. So the quality of traffic in Bing is definitely there, not in the volume that Google has the traffic, but the quality in Bing is definitely a lot better than Google, because it's giving a lot better cost per conversion. Something that I think we mentioned in our previous Launchpad webinar, and something that I'd like to reiterate, is that if you have a client that is doing paid advertising, then Bing is something not to be neglected. You have to pay attention to Bing, and at least for your client's branded terms, you should be advertising in Bing, so that you're getting all the conversions for their branded terms. So something to keep in mind. All right, so moving on to our next news, AdGuru, which is the PPC platform. They come up with some pretty interesting studies once in a while. So they came out with a recent study that highlighted the top advertisers in mobile search based on impressions, and they were tracking about 50,000 keywords in the U.S. So they were basically looking at the top advertisers in the mobile search category. So it's kind of interesting to see who's doing a lot of this mobile advertising. no surprise, the top company is Amazon. So Amazon's a top site that's doing a lot of advertising in mobile search. Um, Followed by Best Buy, Bank of America, Apple, Home Depot, T-Mobile, Sears, ActiveBeat, Wells Fargo, Target, and AT&T. And then there's a whole bunch of other companies. What I found interesting was that there's not a lot of travel companies. I mean, the first travel company that's really doing mobile advertising is CheapAware, which is on the 15th spot, and then you have Booking.com, which is on the 17th spot. So that was kind of interesting to see that there's not a lot of travel companies that are doing a lot of mobile advertising or a lot of aggressive mobile advertising. Amazon, I mean, no surprise. Best Buy, pretty consistent when it comes to the share of mobile search. They're always at the top there. Apple, another one with their iTunes, doing a lot of mobile advertising. And again, these are all searches that are a lot of these searches are spontaneous searches. So it kind of makes sense to be pretty aggressive for a lot of these companies to do mobile advertising that aggressively. In terms of banks, you had Bank of America being right at the top, followed by Wells Fargo at position 9. But you can go to AdGuru's website, and there's a lot more interesting insights when it comes to mobile search, and you can take a look at the full report. We just pulled a little bit of an extract from that report that they put out there. Great. Moving on. So Google Desktop voice search is here. So and the way that Google described it was that if you ever try to cook and you have your hands covered in flour and you need to know how many ounces are there in a cup, it's going to be pretty tricky to type in or use a keyboard with your hands in flour and mess up your keyboard. So Google's launched desktop voice search, and some of you might have noticed this already. So right next to your Google icon, there's a little mic logo there, and then all you essentially do is just say OK Google, but before that you just have to enable it so as to make sure that your mic is connected, so that Google can pick up on your voice. And then when you want to start a voice search, all you say is OK Google, and then it's going to activate the voice search, and then you just start speaking in your search, and it's going to actually search for that information. Pretty cool. It's again, I'm sure that the accuracy of this is suspect, something that I'm sure that they'd be improving upon, because they did do a beta release of this, and then now they've essentially launched it all across. But definitely a way for the future. It's pretty cool. They did have voice search for mobile for a pretty long time because, again, they understand people are driving, and you don't want to text and type and drive at the same time. So so they've had it on mobile for a while, but then now they've introduced on desktop as well. And let's see what the reviews are. But it's a pretty cool feature, and again, it's just going to increase Google's usage. So a very cool, smart way to increase their usage. Great. That's all that we have as far as our latest articles, latest information is concerned. And then I'm going to pass it over to Armando. He's got a really cool case study on this company called Choice Office Installations that he's going to be talking about more.
Thanks, Manish. Basically, this week we're going to be talking about a company that focuses on providing office installation services, wall systems, and warehousing. They are based out of Toronto, and in this case study, we work with an IC from Toronto, and pretty much doing a little bit of different things into the website. We started the project with them about 3-4 months ago. There was an element of investigation and consulting that we had to do to the actual website. The original website that the client had basically had some issues, so we had to fix those issues first. There was a bit of design. Now, the key thing about this project is that when the IC approached the client, the client's main pain was that the fact of the matter that he had spent some money on his website. He had an independent programmer kind of work on the website, develop a WordPress website, and he didn't see the value of what he had spent. Little did he know that it was a hornet's nest, because there was so many little items and things that were programmed incorrectly. that he wasn't getting value, and it was very stale. If you were to look at the top image in this slide, you'll see that the old design that they had was basically very, gray, blue. There was no strong call to actions. They did have images, but it was very, very plain. So the client wasn't happy. As a matter of fact, it was one of those what we call orphan websites where they're developed, they're programmed, but they launch them and that's it. So the IC obviously had to go through a process of educating the client, taking them through the WSI IBA process. One of the key things that we identified was, before we start doing any SEO work or PPC or social media work on the website, we had to clean up the website. So there was quite a bit of cleanup in the front and the back end. The other major pain was that there was very little online visibility. There was no analytics tracking. The client didn't know how many forms he was getting or telephone calls. One of the reasons he wasn't getting any requests online via completed forms was because there was no form on the website. There was only a telephone number. So overall, the client wasn't happy. The key thing here was to win the trust and take them through the process. The IC understood that there was a lot of work, there was a lot of opportunities, but you have to take them one step at a time, so you don't get the client, a bit scared about the level of investment, specifically after he had invested quite a lot of money. So the first thing that we did with the IC was provide consulting on conversion optimization. We developed a new skin. Basically, this client, they have 2 areas in their website. As a matter of fact, if you go today, we're still kind of working a little bit on it, but they have an office installation service and a wall system service. So because the office installation service, thanks, Anish. The office installation service is the one that it's the biggest money maker. As you can see right now, we're still working on the landing page. Yep, you can click on that one. This is the one that actually makes them the most money. We started working on this one. The wall installation, you'll still see that it has the old design. The thing about it is that, from a technical perspective, the programmer, what he had done was built one of the areas of the website in WordPress and the other side on just HTML. So, it was basically 2 sites into one that needed to be integrated. And obviously that was going to cost a lot of money. So we started working on one area, did the design. We added more call to actions, nicer corporate, colors, specifying the areas that the client wants their customers or prospects to go to, whether it's for warehousing, project management, wall installations, and so on. And obviously, a telephone number, a strong call to actions at the top, right? Receive your free quote. Okay, and as a result of these small changes that we started doing, obviously the phone started ringing, right? Because sometimes when a visitor goes to a website, they don't necessarily want to go all the way to the bottom of the page to look for the number. They want it right in front of them. And if you have a specific offer like free consultation or free quote, free estimate, that leads them to, in this case, if you click on receive your free quote, please, Avinish, to the top. If you click on receive your free quote, you'll notice that it goes to the request a quote. Now we're still working on this page because we have to add a little bit more content, but at least he's capturing the information of the specific clients and able to do a bit of pre-qualification. What type of services they require, etc. So again, baby steps with this client because you don't want to overwhelm them, specifically after they had a very bad experience. The other key element that we added to this website was adding a blog. And for those individuals or those ICs actually that work with us with WSI ALM, you kind of notice us always preaching about every website should have a blog, and that is very important because this is where you're going to be storing your information. This is where you're going to be storing your articles, your press releases, if you're blogging. And the beautiful thing about a blog is that you can categorize, you can create categories. So it's really your resource center. Okay. That in itself has proven to be very successful with this client because not only are we able to write specific articles and content and add images to his blogs, but he's able to organize his website, have it more organized, and hence also start generating traffic from these article postings and blog postings that we're doing. Okay, so very important one of the things that you should always, if you see a site that your client may have, if they don't have a blog, we highly recommend it all the time. The other thing is obviously adding forms. You have to have a contact us form or a request form, something that you, in this case we have two, we have a contact us and a request form, something that you can measure, right? And specifically, if you can, try to make sure that the contact us form or the request form, try to make sure that these forms go into a database, right? I mean, WordPress has different functionalities and features where you can actually store these forms, and this will also help you show your client results, because sometimes they'll tell you, well, you know what, I'm not getting phone calls, or you know, this past month I got very few calls. Those, you know, the term very few and no phone calls are generic. I want to know how many phone calls you got. Was it 5? Was it 2? Was it 10, 15 versus 25? Or how many forms you received. So if you have access to the website, you can always keep track of the forms that you completed. Obviously, if you put Google conversion codes on the website, that's the best way to track it as well. But you know what? Sometimes you got to go back to basics with clients. So these are some of the things that we did on the website to freshen it up. Vinish, if you can go to the next slide, that would be great. We started with, from an SEO perspective, we started with a foundational package, and we're now in month 3 of the program, and their key focus was 3 cities in Ontario and Quebec, and we worked with Toronto, Montreal, and Mississauga, and you can see that the Google rankings have been, you know, they were very non-existent in month 1 to where we are today, working and the jump. Now, sometimes ICs ask us, well, why do you always recommend having a setup plus month 1 activities on the first 30 days that you begin the project? Can we spread them out? The key fundamental thing about this is that because there's so many things happening in the first month, you want to make sure that you create a boost in the campaign, right? You want to make sure that you're putting all the efforts. So obviously, after 3 or 4 months, you can kind of show these type of results. And this was a very classic case of an SEO that we've put a lot of effort in the beginning, the setup and the month 1 activities. So we knew that by month 3, month 4, we could actually show the client progression. So you can see that their Google organic rankings were, for example, from Toronto, for the location Toronto, we went from 42 to 11. Furniture installation services from 81 to 20. Same thing happened for Montreal and Mississauga. Now, the Google local, which is Google Places, this is another area that now we're working with the client, because sometimes, as you know, Google verifies via phone or mainly by postcards, and sometimes those postcards go missing at the client's receptionist desk. So it's very important that you work with your client to make sure that you get those, the Google, Bing, and Yahoo verification, so you can start also placing on the local searches. So we just received those a few weeks ago, so we're starting to see a bit of results in that area. But again, if you look at the left-hand side, the 2 graphs that I showed, it's good to show the client overall, great number or increase in unique visits or visitors to the site or visits to the site on a monthly basis. But it's even better when you actually can show your client the results of the organic search, because at the end of the day, if you're doing SEO, you get measured by organic search, and obviously, everybody also equates that to Google organic search. So if you can see the graphs at the top, you see a bit of the progression that we've done, both in the overall search results organically. That includes all of the different sources, Google, Yahoo, Bing, etc. And then specifically, you'll see that organically through Google, which is a major KPI to continue to measure from an SEO perspective, it's coming along. It's starting, it's growing, and that's very important. Another KPI that we've kind of used for this client has been completed forms. So we're tracking those forms every time a person makes an online request. So that way, at the end of the month, we can tell the client, you know what, this month you had 10, 20, or 15, 30 completed forms, and these are requests for a quote. So this is what we've been working with Choice Office. I'll probably give you an update in the next 3 months, because it'll be interesting on the things that we're currently working on and the positive effects. So this won't be the first time this year that you will hear about this this client because we are working on a number of key things that will definitely boost the results. We're very confident about that, so we'll keep you posted on this. But a very simple lesson to learn. You got to educate your client. You got to work with them, take them step by step, and obviously do the basics and fundamentals to get them some results. At the moment, the client is very happy. You know, they're still a little bit weird because it's only month 3. They're getting some good requests to quotes, completed forms by prospects. So we're kind of working with them hand in hand to make sure that they continue to grow their business online. Okay, Vinish?
Excellent, great. Thanks, Armando. I think that was pretty thoroughly covered there. So that's good information. Once again, if any of the ICs want to use this as a case study for any office furniture, any furniture clients that they potentially have, please shoot myself or Armando an email, either at armando@wsilm.com or info@wsilm.com, and we can definitely provide you with more information, more screenshots, rankings, organic traffic details, etc., etc. Great. Thanks, Armando. That was a great case study there. Moving on. So the tool of the week is browser shots, and a lot of the times when we are doing web development and then we're doing some user testing on web development, the clients test the sites on like different browsers. We test the sites in different browsers, yet sometimes they haven't cleared their cache, or they're looking at the older version of the websites. They're not able to actually look at like, let's say, the newer version of the website for whatever reason. And we need to replicate what they're seeing. And that's where a tool like Browser Shots comes in. That's really, really handy. So I'll actually take you to the tool. So here's the Browser Shots, and it's a really cool tool. It's free. So you can replicate any sort of a search that you want to do. If you're on Linux, if you're in Windows, you can actually choose your operating system, Linux, Windows, Mac. So there's 3 operating systems there, and then the different versions. So if you're using Chrome, if you're using Firefox, if you're using Opera, if you're using Safari, SeaMonkey. I don't think a lot of people use SeaMonkey. So essentially, I mean, the 3 most popular browsers are Internet Explorer, Firefox, and Chrome, and then Safari for Mac. You can choose your version. So in this case, you'd simply ask the client, look, what sort of a browser are you using? What sort of an operating system are you in? What is the version of your browser? And then you can replicate the search. So in this instance, I mean, everything is selected. That's going to take a long time. So you just, select none. And then let's say if you want to have a version of a website, let's say, the same website, Choice Office Installations. We want to basically see how the site looks in, so we enter the URL over here. And let's say we want to see how the site looks in Windows, and we want to check it in, let's say, Firefox version 27. So you just highlight Firefox version 27, you enter a URL, hit submit, and then it's basically checking your, it's essentially going to go ahead and check. Now, we'd done a couple of screenshots, and in the first screenshot we requested all the information, so which is the reason why that's not coming up. But once you actually submit your request, it's going to populate your information at the bottom. Right here, it's going to give you a screenshot, and then you can actually look and see how your site looks. Let me see if we have now one of our previous results uploaded. So here's a previous result that we'd actually run for one of the sites. And you can see that it's displaying it in all the different options. So Firefox 18, Firefox 13 for Windows, Chrome, etc., etc. And then you can actually just click on any of these screenshots over here and see how it's actually looking. There's another feature on this particular tool that I wanted to show you. Once this actually loads up, you even have the option of screen size. So at the bottom, once you've chosen your operating system, once you've chosen your browser and the version of the browser, you can actually choose your screen size as well. So whatever your screen size is, you can choose your color depth, if there's any particular color depth that you want to look at. JavaScript enabled, disabled. So in a browser that has JavaScript enabled, or if it has JavaScript disabled, how does it look like? Java enabled or disabled, and then Flash again, enabled or disabled. So you can actually recreate a complete website experience, a complete website display by choosing all these different options that this tool gives you, and you'll know exactly for sure as to what you're looking at, how your site looks in all these different browsers. And it's very useful for launching new websites. So when you want to launch a new website, you want to make sure that it's looking appropriate in all the standard browsers that are out there with the standard screen sizes. So this is a great tool to actually, do some quick troubleshooting and research on and provide feedback. Excellent. So this was our tool of the week, Browser Shots. A little bit about us, some of our clients, some of our service offerings here, and then of course our contact information. I'm going to go on to questions now. I see a couple of them, so I'll take questions at this stage. So Bob had a question on the Google Smart Annotations. Bob asks a question. In the Google Smart Annotations, where is the review rating info coming from, Google Plus or Customer Lobby? So in the case of the example that we'd utilized, Bob, the information was coming from Google Plus, internally in the website itself, because it was Best Buy's own rating that customers had rated for the particular products. So it was coming in from their own internal rating. But there's a lot of rating and review sites that Google is looking at when it comes to populating the information. Let me see if I can pull up that search for you, because I was actually researching that information for a client of ours very recently, and we came across, because they'd asked us a question about one particular website called Trustpilot. So Google review ratings sites. Let me see if this actually pulls it from, okay, so seller ratings with your ads. I think this is where we can see where it's pulling the information from. There you go. That's exactly it. So these are all the different sources that the seller ratings are being pulled from. So here's where Google's official version is. We base seller ratings on a number of sources. These sources include reviews from Google Shopping, Google Trusted Stores. That's something that I definitely suggest e-commerce merchants getting if they don't have that for their stores, which is this whole thing, Google Trusted Stores. It's a great symbol to add onto your ads. Maybe you can feature one of our Launchpad webinars, talk more about it. So here's Trustpilot. So that's one of the companies that Google's officially using for populating reviews. Customer Lobby. Let me see if Customer Lobby is in here. Nope, I do not see Customer Lobby. When your ads might appear with seller ratings, yep. So how much do seller ratings cost? That's obviously information that is dependent on the agency itself that you're associating yourself with, but I do not see Customer Lobby. So this would be a good question for them if Google is using Customer Lobby for officially populating ratings. This was one of the questions. Trustpilot is what one of our clients had a question on, and Trustpilot is definitely something that Google does use as far as the ratings and reviews are concerned. But here is the official link. I'll post it in the Q&A so that this way everybody has access to this link, and perhaps you can utilize this link and ask Customer Lobby the question. Seuss has a question. Can you say the same of Bing USA and that of Bing Mexico? There's obviously some differences. We haven't necessarily ran a campaign in Bing Mexico, Seuss, so it'll be tough for me to confirm that the conversion rates that we're seeing in Bing USA are also the same in Bing Mexico. No, but I would assume so. I'd have to do some research in terms of what market share Bing has in Mexico as compared to Google. But if it's the same market share, like around 20%, then the strategy of at least advertising for your branded terms on Bing Mexico should also be applied there, because you don't want to lose out conversions on your branded terms to your competitors. You don't want, and I'm pretty sure you can, with a quick check, you can see if your competitors are bidding on your branded terms or not. But if they are, then they're definitely stealing a lot of business away from your client. So the idea is to protect your branded terms. If you are doing a PPC campaign on Google, at least bare minimal launch a PPC campaign with your branded terms on Bing, so you have those terms protected, because they are your best conversions and at a very low cost per conversion. Mark has a question. If you have a Google Plus account, do you also need to register for your Google Places separately? I believe you do, Mark. The Google Places has a separate verification process, so I believe, yes, you do need to register for your Google Places separately. I will double check that though. Mark says, I use SeaMonkey. My apologies. I knew there was somebody that was using SeaMonkey out there. All right. Howard has a question. In the case study you showcased, can you also show a corresponding increase in phone calls from quotes and submitting the forms? Definitely, Howard. So Armando, if we can pass this information on to Howard, that'd be terrific. If we can just reply to him and we can show him some data for phone calls, for quotes, and for submitted forms. That'd be terrific. All right, I think that's all the questions that we have. Great, thanks once again for joining us for this Launchpad webinar edition. Hope everybody has a fantastic week and stay warm. Thank you.